And speaking of Mohammed Ben Sulayem, he's also been a bit in the news as well because he had some comments about the budget caps in Formula One. This might be of interest to you. So, after 5 years, the FIA, they might very well be scrapping the cost cap, but let's take this with a grain of salt. I want to take it with a big grain of salt because Mohammed Ben Sulayem also said he might, has not done so as far as I've seen, ease the penalties on the swearing rule. But again, I don't think he has yet. So again, take it with a grain of salt. Sulayem telling the AP, the Associated Press, at the Miami Grand Prix that the cost cap has been a headache to the FIA, calling it basically a hassle. Let me see. They've been looking into it, looking at the cost cap, and it's just giving the FIA a headache. What's the point of it? He said about an hour before the race at Hard Rock Stadium. And the cost cap's a positive for some, a negative for others. And I kind of want to break down at least my thoughts, my pros, my cons on the proposal of a budget cap. Him proposing getting rid of it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen. The same way that proposing the swearing ban is going to go out the window doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen. These are things that he helped enforce, he helped create, he helped, shape. So the infrastructure for all these things being put in place by him, he may not be so willing to just scrap them. But this one, to me, I can understand and it feels like it might make some sense. The pros for the non-cost cap, so removing the cost cap. In a nutshell, the best team who develops the best car will be more competitive, simply put. The organization, the infrastructure can handle the pursuit of chasing a championship or is willing to make the sacrifices monetarily as well as infrastructurally to win, can win at that point. So if you're behind, let's say, you're behind by a tenth or 2/10, on just general pace, you can put more resources into finding those gains rather than being limited within a cost cap, rather than having to slowly build back. You'd be able to do it a lot more aggressively. This is how Formula One has been managed for decades and decades and decades of this championship. The cons for the non-cost cap is that big spenders, they tend to dominate. And if you're willing to spend the most money on your car, if you're willing to put the most infrastructure behind your car, you're putting the most resources behind your car, and you can afford to do so, well, it means you're probably going to have the cream rise to the top and it'd be a lot more clearly defined. The bunching that the cost cap has created as far as the overall performance of the cars, the separation of the cars, it's a lot tighter of a field now. But I would still say that the cost cap, with it being in place, there's still only 2 to 3 teams, 4 teams really, that are winning races. But the pros for the cost cap: keep the field a lot more condensed. It forces teams to be more intentional about their development direction. One team can effectively spend its way to a title, basically throwing new developments at the wall every single weekend until you find something that sticks. And I don't imagine these teams necessarily purposefully waste money and waste time and resources. But if you're trying to find gains, you're not really sure where it's working, you're not correlating very well with the simulator, things just aren't quite connecting, you can really only get it on track, you might be a little bit more apt to just throw stuff at this metaphorical wall. And smaller teams, from a general perspective, if you're a Haas, if you're Williams of late, right, they've got a lot more backing nowadays, but let's say you're Stake and you're going to become Audi in Switzerland with all this new infrastructure. Smaller teams across the grid, they're not going to have the same kind of money. They're not going to have the same kind of backing. They're not going to have the same kind of infrastructure, which means they're not going to be able to just throw money, so to speak, at these kinds of problems to just catch up and become competitive once again. Along with the cost cap came regulation of aero and CFD, computational fluid dynamics testing. So you had regulations that basically halted how much time you could spend within the simulator, and it allowed teams to become overall more profitable. So those are pros. By going back into the aero and CFD testing regulations, putting halts on these things. This also did kind of help narrow the field, because if let's say you're the team that won the year prior, you have a lot less time to aerodynamically test your parts, your components, everything else that goes into the fuel system, how effective your fuel can be, how strongly it works within all your components, blah, 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 blah. This being regulated down, worse teams had more time and a lot more resources to do these things from a on-paper time perspective. better teams had less. So you started to kind of meet in the middle, and the playing field kind of evens out. I would say from a cost cap perspective, the cons of this, developments to catch up take a lot longer to come. Gaps to cars remain for a longer period of time. So if you're a Red Bull, you can dominate the sport really early if you have nailed the regulations, because your opponents, they just simply don't have enough time. They don't have enough money. They have to allocate very specifically and hope that they find the developments where they are crucial in order to catch up. But it takes a lot longer, and the seasons remain a lot more predictable. It limits the technological battle, and this is the technological peak of motorsports. Formula One is the pinnacle of motorsport. It touts itself that way by having a cost cap in place. The idea to build the fastest car possible for the best drivers, it limits these things, so to speak. So I want to know what you guys think. TLPs, let me know if you are for a cost cap. Maybe you're against a cost cap. Let me know down in the comments below. I'm really curious. This is a very ongoing conversation. If the FIA decides to go away from this, the field might spread out more, but you could argue that our championships could be a lot more interesting. We do have a few really big dogs in this fight. We still had amazing championship battles before the cost cap. We're still going to have amazing championship battles as we go forward with Formula One as well. But I'm really curious to see what you guys think. If you asked me and you pressed me right now, should they take away the cost cap? Should they keep the cost cap? I might be more inclined to say take it away. I want to see peak performance from peak teams and peak drivers and guys competing for championships at the highest level, pushing for every inch. From an engineering perspective, I want to see as much as they possibly can put onto these cars. I want to see the development, and I want to see that competition too, not just on track and not just a squish down condensed hamburger of competition that's still only being won by 3 to 4 teams at best. I want to see the peaks of development. I want to see the peaks of engineering. I want to see the pinnacle of motorsport. If it's restricted by the cost cap, so be it. It is what it is right now. But I 100%, if it makes things a little bit easier on the FIA, they can just focus on governing and maybe making the correct decisions there rather than worrying about auditing Formula One teams about who went over $100,000 or $200,000 or not. These are things that I'd be a lot more interested in seeing. So push come to shove right now, I think I would be in favor of them removing the cost cap. But that's just me. I want to know what you guys think. TLPs, drop your comments down below. I want to hear from you guys. Let me know what your thoughts are on this.